Good morning, and welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you view many of my other videos so you can get a feel of what my channel is about. And for those of you that have been here before, welcome back. I appreciate you supporting me with the dedication of watching my videos. It means a great deal to me. I am humbled. This is just a video to talk about the topic that I actually love most, and that is trying to persuade people from making any negative choices and decisions, trying to persuade people from living a negative life, and trying to convince people to live the right way so they don't end up incarcerated, so they don't make the mistakes that I made. Recently, the filming of my videos, we've talked about situations like the prison strike and what is going on with the New York Department of Corrections. We talked about the Robert Brooks murder, where the officers were indicted for murder. A lot of different conversation in the comments and the topics. And those topics are all centered around prison itself or the criminal justice system itself. And my main goal and my main agenda is to persuade anyone from being part of the system, right? And as you've heard my stories about what it's like to be on the inside, the things that I encountered inside, um, those stories are told. Some people consider them war stories, but my stories are told to persuade people from having to be exposed to incidents like that and not be exposed to that lifestyle. So if you're living the wrong way, if you're doing anything illegal, if you're committing any crimes, you need to get yourself in check. A lot of people do the wrong thing for many reasons. A lot of people do things out of greed, and they end up getting arrested. A lot of people do things because of drug addiction. A lot of people do things because of jealousy. A lot of people do things because of anger. A lot of people do things because they feel they have no other options, and they do something that's criminal, and they do something that's illegal, you know. And you need to realize from listening to my stories the situation that you will end up in and the pain that's involved. That's what I hope that people take from the reality that I speak about, from the stories that I speak about. At this time, there's over 1 million people incarcerated in the United States of America. That's an army, and 89% of that is drug related. That's about the calculations. So if you can refrain from having to do anything with drugs, your chance of becoming incarcerated dwindles tremendously, right? And when I say that 89% are drug related, right? If you're doing drugs right now, you know, please listen to this. People are in prison because they possess drugs. They have possession of drugs, a drug possession charge. They have the sale of drugs, selling drugs. And when you're selling drugs, you think you're never going to get caught. I'm good, I'm smart, I'm smarter than them, and you could get away with doing it for a long time. And then eventually you go down. So there's people in prison for possessing drugs, people in prison for selling drugs. There's people in prison that committed robberies so they can get money to get drugs. There's as an example of that, they say that over 80% of bank robbers rob banks to support their drug habit. They need quick money. They know the bank has money, and they want to supply their heroin habit or their cocaine habit, and they end up committing this crime. People assault people and get into fights all day long because of drugs. And alcohol is included in those drugs. Alcohol is one of the most dangerous. So you have people getting drunk, smacking their spouse around, killing their spouse while they're under the influence. People are under the influence of drugs and alcohol, hurting their family, hurting strangers on the street because they're running around drunk or high, you know. So the assaults fall under drugs. Robberies and burglaries fall under drugs. People driving DWI, killing people, under the influence of drugs. So drugs plays a major role in the incarceration numbers throughout the country. And my point is that if you could get drugs out of your life, you know what I mean. That's a great start. That is a great start. You could end up in, you really need to close your eyes and imagine what it's like if you don't correct your mistakes and you end up in a jail cell. That's 6 foot wide, 7 foot wide by 10 feet deep. Just think it's a little bigger than an elevator. You know what I mean? And many of the cells have no windows. And when that cell door slams home for the first time, I'll never forget that sound and that feeling. When you get put in that cell with nothing, you don't have anything because you just came into prison. You know what I mean? And they lead you to that cell and you go in there and that cell door slams home. Boom! You'll start examining your life. You know, Many people break down. You'll start to wonder how you got there. You'll start to wish you made some better choices, man. You'll start to wish you lived with more discipline. You know, your first experience, if you get arrested, and let's say the judges sentence you to prison, you'll be in the county jail first. A miserable, miserable place. County jails are terrible. There's a lot of violence in places like Rikers Island, Riverhead County Jail, Nassau County Jail. People even get killed in these county jails. They get sliced, they get cut, they get stabbed, they're fighting all day. County jails are miserable. And then you go up to prison with the big boys, and you'll be sitting there, and you'll go in that cell, and you'll look at the walls, and you'll see people rub their snot on the walls of the wall, and the floors are filthy and dirty. The place smells, and like I say, there's no place like home, man. And you guys got to remember that if you don't live the right way, this easily becomes reality. It happens in the snap of a fingers, man. Next thing you know, you're getting a pair of handcuffs put on you because you didn't do the right thing. And then there's no way out of it. When you get in that cell, there is no way to call mommy and daddy to get you out. There's no way to call an attorney to get you out. Once you're sentenced, you're sentenced. It's over. You're in there, man. And you're going to be dealing with and you're going to be exposed to angry prisoners that are living with anger, man. They're in there and they're not happy. They're miserable, and angry correctional officers. You see what's going on right now. You see what's going on with the strike, and the demands of the correctional officers that they want to be able to put guys in solitary for extended periods of time because they know that what's going on in the system, they're miserable. The prisoners are miserable and the officers are miserable. And what I'm saying is you'll be placed in a miserable situation, a place that is filled with emotions. There's so many emotions going in there. And what's happening is every day when you get up and out of your cell and you have to walk around the prison, those emotions are just simmering at the top of the pot. They're ready to overflow. You see, the emotions are never low. The emotions are always high. There's always an intensity in prison. There's always, like my friend Sharif said the other day, it's like walking on a landmine when you're in prison, right? You could say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, walk the wrong way, and everything explodes in a heartbeat. And living under that tension causes severe anxiety every day, 24 hours a day. You're living with this anxiety that everything is simmering at the top of the pot, and why would you want to do that to your life? Why would you want to subject yourself to the gangs that are in prison? Tons of gangs in prison, and that's regardless of what state you're in. You have these gangs of young kids that run around and they're trying to extort other prisoners. They're cutting other prisoners with razors. They're stabbing other prisoners. They're making life miserable on an even higher level in there. You'll be fighting to make a phone call. How about that? You want to call your family. If you're married and you were lucky enough to have your spouse stick with you as you were getting sentenced and going to prison, you now have to fight to get on the phone What about when you want to call home and there's 5 guys from a gang who says, I got the phone next. I got the phone next. And you only have an hour out in the recreational yard to use the phone. What are you going to do in that situation? Right? You're going to be in situations like that. You know, you'll be useless to your family. How about that? Useless to your family. You can't do anything for them. You can't pay the bills. You can't protect them. You can't take your kids to school if you have kids. Everybody's going to know you're in prison. You'll become useless. Your family will be living without you. You know, terrible, terrible reality to live like that. Each day in prison is like an echo of the day before. Each day is the same thing, same routine. You know, it's like I've said, it's like being trapped under a steel and brick umbrella. Yeah, you feel like you're trapped and you're choking in pain. The pain can choke you, can suffocate you, and every day you get up with you know it's very hard to hold your head up as you're walking around there watching guys get their face melted with boiling oil. They're throwing boiling oil on each other. You know, it's just it's an insane place. It's an insane reality. You know, many people want to commit suicide in there. You know, and not even because they're scared. It's because they just can't handle the level of suppression, the crushing the crushing feeling that comes into the spirit and soul, man. It's a really, really terrible place. And as much as we knock the criminal justice system, as much as we can say that the courts are wrong or the correctional officers are wrong, a correctional officer didn't come and scoop you up off the street and bring you into prison, right? Unless you're 100% innocent, then nobody just brought you into the prison system. You did it to yourself, is what I'm trying to say. You're going to do it to yourself, and that's unless you youngsters or people that are living wrong change your ways and behavior and focus on some positive things in life, right? In today's world, everybody wants this instant gratification, especially when it comes to things like YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. And it's like everybody wants this attention. Everybody wants this instant gratification. Everyone wants their ego fed, and they have no discipline and they have no patience and don't realize that if you want to accomplish things in life, you really have to work for them, you know and that's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to set goals and go for those goals. I want you guys to have a clear vision of what you need to do and go for that. If nobody is telling you that goals are within reach, they are within reach. you know for 99% of people, it's just finding the motivation to go and get them. But don't end up in this prison system. Don't end up in the criminal justice system. Don't end up in jail. And I say, as I said in the beginning of this little video, that drugs are a big key. Try and get yourself drug free, please. If you are on drugs right now, get some help. Don't be ashamed to get some help. It doesn't mean you're weak if you go for help. It means you're smart if you go for help. It means that you're making a positive and correct decision. There's nothing like living clean. There's nothing like feeling 100% clean, and it's just a great way to live, you know. But when addiction has a hold of you, I understand it's tough. I've been there. I was an addict my most of my life. I started doing drugs at the age of 13, and by the time I was 15, I was doing everything under the sun. And you can beat it. I ended up killing a man under the influence of drugs. Bad things happen under the influence of drugs. And I don't want you to go there. I don't want that to be part of your reality. So I don't want to keep going with the video, and drag it out. Just if you're doing drugs, do me this one favor. Just if you're doing drugs, please try to stop. Go get some help. Pick up the phone and call someone. There are people out there that will help you, you know. All right. I'm going to close this video for now. I wish the best for everybody out there, for everyone listening. And if you feel that you know someone that is struggling, please send them this video, and maybe something I say can convince them to live the right way. That's all I ask for. You guys be well out there. All my best.